call August 16th utilities meeting to order. Mr. Valentine, could you please lead us in prayer? Followed by the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. Parish. Bow our heads, please. Father, we are so thankful today, Lord, that you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and we ask you tonight to bless our meeting here, Lord. May we each have wisdom to deal with the parish business. Father, we ask a blessing on our parish, our men in uniform, Father, and women in uniform that protect our country abroad and also at home, Father. We ask all these things in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Stacy, please let the record reflect that Mr. Shake Snyder is absent. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak can do so at the time of the agenda item. Please sign with Ms. Stacy. ACUD number 1, Phase 3 funding proposal. ACUD Legal Counsel, Mr. Marvin Groh.
Thank you, Jared. Good evening. For the first time, and I remember coming to the board, I'm not asking for any money. That's one good thing. First of all, before we get started, I'd like to introduce, we do have some of our board members. Would y'all please stand up? Oliver Joseph, and we have 2 of our board members, and our acting secretary, Tommy Bennett, is here with us also. I gave each one of you a copy of our proposal, gentlemen. Just a brief overview. In 2000, year 2000, Parish Council created this board, ACU number 1. This is prior to some of you people coming on board at the council, but with the idea that we consolidate all of our utility boards on our side, the river west side, with a 3-phase program, phase 1, 2, and 3. We have just completed phase 2, which we thank God that we had your support to help us financially, to where this board, Ascension Parish Council, gave us approximately $150,000 to make that phase 2 a reality, with the federal government giving us the great majority of the money, and then of course we sold some bonds. At that particular time, we came to you and we approved the bond issue, and we went to sell the bonds, and we had the project done. What's happening tonight that we're presenting to you is we're going to the voters on the west side of the river in our district, outside of city limits of Donaldsonville, to ask the voters to approve a $10 million property tax. Why? Well, our phase 3 has been again on the drawing board since the year 2000. We have delayed it because of putting things together, getting the budgets together, and fortunately we've been in the black now for the last 2.5, 3 years. We've been successful thanks to everybody, including this board and the Ascension Parish Council as a whole. But now we need to grow. The West Bank is growing considerably. You pass there when you come to meetings, you see the Walmart and everything else growing. We have a lot of other things on the drawing board. There's a motel, there's another shopping center, there's residents. A lot of this depends on if we can provide water. People's Water Service at the present time is negotiating a sale between themselves and the city of Donaldsonville. They're not expanding and doing anything. They're selling. So unless we can provide the water, we in a bond. So we feel that we can sell this tax to the public. What we're here tonight for is to ask permission of the Utility Committee to put it on the agenda for the full council to allow us to allow the voters to vote. Now, if the voters approve this in November, then we'll be coming back to you with our final plan so we can meet all your URS requirements and get with bond counsel and make sure that you're satisfied with doing everything according to what you feel is appropriate with the parish. But right now, tonight, what we're doing is asking permission to put this on the ballot. Why November? Several reasons. One is that it's going to cost us less than $2,000 to do it then, because it's November 7th is a broader primary, so you divide the cost by the number of things on the ballot. If we had to do it as a single item, it may be as much as $15,000. So that saves a lot of money there. Secondly, but most importantly, is that we cannot put this in the ballot, I think most of you are aware of, until March. So this would delay us 6 months. And there are a considerable amount of developments out there that are kind of waiting for us to make commitments on water, and we're ready to move on. So 6 months could hurt that development. And I've already talked to legal counsel, which he's he'll be at the meeting tomorrow night, the regular meeting, but he'll address that the parish has no financial obligation in this matter. Assuming the voters approve this is a revenue bond issue where the revenues are dedicated to pay these bonds off over a period of 25 years. We're hoping that eventually that we won't, the ad valorem will not be necessary over the years, because the ad valorem 10 mills that we are proposing will raise approximately $130,000 a year. It's the amount that we need to pay for our developments, in addition to some other our revenues that we're going to produce from it. But we also anticipate a lot of growth. But we cannot include that growth in our plans, because if we include that, then the budget's kind of screwed up. So we have to accept what we have now on the books. So the 10 mills is based on our current millage assessment. Now, the plants are excluded. We're not counting them in there because they have their districts. So they're not going to be involved in this at all. Eventually, they may be directly or indirectly involved, because if they're going to want to use our better water pressure and our fire protection, they're going to have to pay a service fee. So that would be something we have to work with the plants. But basically, that's the overall view. It's not very complicated. It's a matter of us going to the voters. And if you ride in your car and you drive down the bay, you pass through Ascension Parish, Lafourche, you go to Terrebonne. Everybody's got water districts. It's a thing of the future. It's what funds the waters, the districts all throughout the state. And we're just a little bit behind in doing it, but we're ready to move on. And I think this is the first time in the parish that we'll have a water district taxing, I think, if I remember correctly. I don't know if it's being taxed on East Bank that I'm aware of. But we're ready to move forward. I'm hoping to ask any questions that you may have for me tonight.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Lamb.
any of the board members have anything they want to add before I offer a motion to?
Go ahead and offer a motion so we can.
I'll go ahead and offer that motion that we recommend to the full council, put this on the November the 7th ballot for
Second.
the ACUD 1.
Motion by Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Valentine. Any discussion? Mr. Joseph?
No, we hate to, as a chairman, I hate to bring up a millage tax on this here, but just like Mr. Marvin Grove said, we have no other choice now. We've been working with this project. I've been on this project for 25 years, and we have to go to the voters to ask them to make a decision, because we have ran out of all avenues to try to get the funding. So, I mean, the only resolution we got is to go to the voters. And that's all I have to comment on.
Anything else, members? Mr. Valentine?
And it is, Mr. Grove, on Tuesday, November 7th, which is a major election.
Yeah.
Right? So
Correct.
I'm sure there'll be a fairly good turnout.
Well, I think you get a cross-reference of people all interested. You get a
Right.
better turnout at that time also.
Right. Okay.
It's supposed to be on the agenda tomorrow night, the regular meeting. I asked Mr. Schickstein to put it out. I'm assuming it is, but I haven't had a chance to talk to Mr. Schickstein.
Right.
Because it's timing, we have to get it approved tomorrow night to get it on the ballot. I don't know if you have the agenda yet. I'll just check with the office, make sure it was. I would request to be placed on the agenda.
That was going to be my next question, because you got to have a time limit being able to
Yes,
get
we
this
need to
on
have it
November
approved
the-
tomorrow night. If it's
I
approved
don't
tomorrow night, we're
remember seeing
okay.
it.
It wasn't on the agenda.
I'll ask the
that I
chairman to bring it
remember.
up under 2/3 because
All
of
right.
time restraint.
I'll be there tomorrow night in case there's some questions about that.
And
okay?
that was my next question, how we were going to accomplish that, because I know there's a time limit as far as.
Yeah,
as
if
far
it's
as
approved
getting
tomorrow night, we're okay.
on. Okay,
We're all right, okay? Thank you.
all right.
Anything else, members?
One thing I would suggest at the ACUD, maybe have some handouts or something pertaining to exactly what this money will be spent on. I know you have some special projects, something maybe you can divulge or not divulge, or what, you said it's going to bring in $130,000. I mean,
Correct.
Are you planning on bonding that? Or you can't
Yeah,
bond
revenue
it?
bonds.
Right, okay.
Revenue bonds. It's
Okay.
the cheapest way to go. You have general obligation bonds and revenue
Right.
bonds. If you
Right.
go general obligation, you pay twice, and it's a little more expensive. The revenue bonds are a little cheaper to go.
Right. I mean, this is fine, but as far as ACUD, you might want to make some copies for the councilman.
Yeah.
on
I'll
what
make
you
just
plan on
a summary
doing
of what we're
with the
doing,
money.
and
I
I'll
think it's
present
good to
it
have a
to
plan.
council.
Please. And if you don't mind, Mr. Grove, while we're here and we're all live on TV, maybe elaborate a little bit on ACUD's future plans and what y'all may be expanding so we can inform the public, if you don't mind.
Okay. In year 2000, we started off with 170 customers, and then Approximately a year ago, we jumped from 170 to around 350, 360. That's with the Phase 2 project you helped us fund and the federal government. Recently, we acquired approximately 100 customers in Limaville area from St. James Water District because they're in Ascension Parish. And we acquired them by intergovernmental contract, and we're just waiting on the funds to pay them, and probably next month. They've been approved for the federal government to pay those funds for those. So we're going to be up to around 500 customers within the next 90 days, approximately. So we've made a gradual approval. The problem was been originally 170 people we just could not break even. So now in the last 2 years we've been in the black, and what we plan on, our plans are to build a new water tower, which will be in conjunction with part of the parish plans. That's already the water tower is going to be near the parish jail, where you're getting ready to do the renovations and so forth. That water tower will feed that particular area of the parish and feed some parts of St. Jude subdivision and backfeed towards the John Falls area where the industrial park is. We are currently servicing the water needs of John Falls on a limited basis because we're coming off Peoples for that now. But we're going to backfeed, that's the plans on Highway 70 all the way back towards Donaldsonville. In addition to those plans, we also plan another water tower located on Highway 1 south near the Palo Alto Fire Station. That will backfeed the residents on the 308 side that have inadequate water pressure now, that their fire protection is limited and their fire rates are more excessive. So that you know, as a committee, and somebody asked you the question, we've been told by the assessor's office that approximately 60% of the people would not even have to pay this tax because of the homestead exemption on the west side outside the city limits. The other 40%, we're anticipating that just with the fire rates being lowered, you're looking at probably a break even at worst part for those. So it's a win-win for everybody if soon as we get the word out so everybody understands what we're doing. But the biggest plus of all is that certain times of the day in certain areas across the river, 5 to 7 in the evening, the peak times, you can't wash clothes and take showers at the same time. So we're trying to eliminate that, have got good fire protection, and working with the local fire departments, and basically that's the overall view of what we plan on doing. What we plan on doing is when we go out for bids, we're going to make a full presentation to this board and to the council exactly our plans. But we got to get this funding passed, and the public's going to get this also. But because of timeline, we just hadn't put together everything we needed. But that's our overall view of what we're doing now.
Any other discussion?
Okay. I'll see y'all tomorrow night.
We have a
Okay?
motion and a second. Any objection? Yes,
Chairman,
Mr. Valentine?
we may want to highlight this one because of the time element that it will probably have to be put on the agenda from the Utilities Committee as an emergency situation. We'll have to get that put on the agenda, so we might want to make that note.
Ms. Stacy, can you make that note, and I'll also try to get in touch with Chairman Salvo. Next, we have discussion of LCDBG grant, Hill Reveal Phase 1. Mr. Chance from GSA.
If you remember, we brought this issue up under new business last month, and there was some discussion about funding. Right now, I'd like to really defer to Dr. Keller and let him make some comments on available funding for this project. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When there was bid, we looked at the bid, and it was heavily above the budget. I mean, heavily. And it was heavily above the funding that was available under the program that was being looked at. But also, if you looked at the bid, which wasn't unusual because you've seen a lot of that since Katrina, compare the bid on that size plant and that amount of work with a similar size that was even larger in Aberville Parish, Plaquemine, and several others. In fact, I was fortunate. I sat in with the engineers and with the consultant that had been handling it. And when we look at it overall, it didn't compute. It looked like that because of the shortage of work and the contractors having as much work as they could possibly handle, that they would just take a shot, as we call it, at a higher price. And if you get it, then you've got a lot of profit in it. It was my personal recommendation at that table that those bids would be rejected because of the fact that two things. Number one is that if you could find the money immediately, fine. But what we had looked at, and with the head of Public Works, we've been looking at trying to put together programs that would lead to the entire parish, the east bank of the Mississippi River, being in a centralized sewage, and that the whole thing would be completed in phases, but at least everything was done to meet that objective. And when you looked at this particular project, if the bids were rejected, or if you could get a long enough extension of time, it would allow us to go to another federal agency to supplement the funds. Because right now we have been dealing with a federal agency, in fact, rural development, but at the regional level, the state level, and the federal level, because as most of you know, I've been connected with them in Washington on down. And we are in a process of preparing, as soon as we get figures, applications, but our number one priority would be Lemonville. And the reason for Lemonville is that it meets all the criteria quite quickly, but it allows the tie-in of the new jail facilities and bringing that all the way to the town of Donaldsonville's sewer operation. So that would be the most cost-effective program that we could be looking at. Number two was Harrahville in a priority. So what I'm saying, if we can buy enough time that we can fit additional funds into the Harrahville one, it would save the parish a lot of money. Now, whether you buy that time by rejecting the bids or whether you buy that time by trying to get a long enough extension, and I don't believe you're going to get extensions from contractors of any significant amount right now. That's your decision, but my personal recommendation is that these bids are just out of tilt as far as accepting them.
Any questions of Dr. Keller? Dr. Keller, you say Lemonville is the first priority, number one priority. What plans do y'all have to fund that particular priority?
Straight from rural development, and also it's already under the construction, and it's already being done. It's already, the other consultant that's involved is already working for community development block grant.
Have we gotten a word on that particular block grant?
I can't tell you because I haven't been handling it, but we're working on that as a joint venture. In fact, that's what we're trying to do, and thanks to Mr. Bill has been kind of the coordinator on this and helping us set what's the most important links to bring all this to the parish-wide system. Now, like for example, many of the small plants that will go into some of these isolated systems would then become the pump station for the big system. So that's the most cost-effective way that you can do that kind of thing. Now, and the Corps is involved, and so now we're starting to involve the Corps, Pontchartrain Foundation, Community Development Block Grant, and now we're adding another one into the pie, which is rural development. And we think that by doing so, we'll be able to move these projects a lot faster than they've moved in the past. But to tell you quite frankly, we know that, for example, we cannot secure funds from rural development until October, but we can have everything completed and be in line for funds at that time. And the reason being is that that's the next fiscal year for the federal government that funds will be allocated. And what we're looking at is probably about $1.25 to $1.5 million on
So-
the first round, like we say.
So if I understand you correctly, Dr. Keller, Lemonville priority one,
Yep.
if we get any money from rural development, be in October.
Yes, it
Correct.
would be right following. It would be notified late October and getting the actual money in November. Of course, the minute you're notified, that's when you start the bid process and everything going on.
And we do not know if we have the LCDBG grant for Lemonville.
No, you don't.
Okay.
Well, unless the other consultant has heard something in the last week. We didn't have a week ago.
Right. Okay.
But he's been working actively on this, and I consider him to be a real expert at it. So if he can't do it, nobody can.
Yeah, Ms. Sato. Any other questions for Dr. Keller?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Lambert?
I'd like to hear from the administration also on this, but there's no way we can get, what's the extension for the Hillryville?
He can tell you this.
How much time do we have?
The 60 days on holding the bids ran out on Monday, so we're past that date. I have not talked to the low bidder to see whether he would be interested in extending that bid, but I had talked to him about 2 weeks ago, and he was anxious to get his bond released. So just from that, I'm anticipating that he's probably not going to extend his bid time. He's not going to hold his bids any longer. So, I mean, if there's no money tonight, then probably he's not going to wait for another 90 to 120 days, until we can get money in October. And just to bring y'all up to date, we got the list on the first round of LCDBG awards and rankings, and neither of the Ascension Parish sewer projects was in there because you have to either, we have to get final acceptance on Darrow, and then we have to release, either release Hillryville or this phase of Hillryville, and to release that, I mean, on that project, all of the engineering was paid under the grant, so to get that grant allocation released, the parish would have to come back and reimburse block grant for those engineering fees. So, I mean, that's where we stand right now. Now, I say engineering, it's also Mr. Maceto's administration fees there too, because both of those were being paid out of the block grant part.
But that day at the meeting, that was his recommendation too. In fact,
So-
Mr. Shaim has talked tonight that he's gotten that he also has found out that two of the other firms that would have bid this had just gotten two big projects and didn't want to take on another one at the same time this was going out. And I don't know their names, but he does. In fact, and that's probably the reason why we didn't have true competition on those bids.
Mr. Lambert, are you finished?
Yeah, finished.
Mr. Valentine?
Dr. Keller, you did mention you had talked to Mr. Rue about this. Yeah, well, that's what I was asking. See if Mr. Rue could come back to the front if he's watching in the back or something. But
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
can tell you about our priority
it's
system.
primarily is this administration's suggestion.
I don't know about the rejection of the
that's-
bid.
and
This
that's-
is mine because I sat in at the meeting with
Right.
the people, the engineering firm.
But
and
it sounds like we
Mercedes.
almost don't have really too much of an opportunity to even if it runs out on Monday. Is that what you said, Mr. Chance?
Yeah, the 60 days ran out on Monday the 14th.
Right, and it also would fit. I guess the Lemonville would fit more in our plans, Mr. Rue, with expansion of the jail, and it would probably be a little. Would aid us in that situation if we would get that grant.
I would think so. And there's several points to making this decision. One of which is the fact that the bid's over, way over, and we don't have the extra funding in hand yet.
And that
to
was the
provide.
charge. That
That's
was the
the-
charge from the council, if you
That's right.
remember, if the administration could come back to us. So if you're coming back to us and saying there really isn't any funding except through the general
Right.
budget, well, then I'll make a motion that we send this to the council for rejection of bid. and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that.
And as a discussion, Mr. Chairman, to expand on it, our thought process on it, one of which is the funding, the excessive amount of bid. Second is the fact that we have another priority, which is Lemonville, and it becomes the number one priority because of expansion of the jail, and we have to act on it immediately because we want to tie everything in together because we're moving real fast on the expansion of the jail. And we have some funding mechanisms already in place for that whole area and a somewhat of an agreement, and we have ongoing analysis being done by CDM to really put it all together. The other thing is our comprehensive wastewater plant is moving on real fast, and we're actually doing a business plan and doing further analysis through the Corps of Engineers, through one of their consultants, their architect, to see what would be the cost of, in combination of a collection line in the northern part of the parish, just like was always planned, to add a collection line to the south to Highway 22 to catch the new developments, but to immediately catch Hillaryville. So now it changes the whole plan, because now you don't have to have a plant. You can tie that into our immediate plan. You may have to wait an extra year, but it would fit into our comprehensive plan a lot better, probably a lot cheaper, make a lot more sense. So because of these reasons, we say let's switch priorities, let the bids die, and reimburse the consultants for their work. We can still have their plan. We have everything for us, the design, so we can use it when we're ready. That collection system, we're ready to tie it into our comprehensive plan.
Right.
So
I guess the other question, since we made the motion and got the discussion going here, so it's not reasonable to rebid this plan?
I would
in
hold
y'all's
off.
opinion.
I would hold off the rebidding of the plant until we get more information on the feasibility of tying this into our comprehensive plan.
Right.
Initially, instead of putting the plant there and converting the plant over to a lift station or something like that.
Well, I would suggest, because this does concern a shift, and of course there's going to be some councilmen that, that I'm sure it's in certain councilman's district, and now it may go to another one. I don't really know the particulars, but we need some justification from the administration on the recommendation. So, and I think you've presented, a good case, Bill, but I think we're going to need some for rejecting the bids maybe and not rebidding it. So this discussion may continue, so I just would suggest that you get that. I don't have a problem with bringing it to the full council, but it is excessive as far as the amount, and if we on a timeline, that's probably what we should do.
Exactly right, and we can provide that justification.
Okay.
I think.
Just one point,
Yes,
point,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman. The way the system is designed, it already has a pump station in the system, so to conform the plans to a broader collection basis in the regional network, all we'd have to do is just drop the plant out.
Right.
So.
Okay.
We're not wasting it. All right.
Question, as far as the $1 million funding that's in place now from LCDBG, do we lose that, or can we hold on to it? And how does it affect the next cycle if we just say we're going to hold up on this project? I don't want to jeopardize another $1 million next year and next year by just saying, oh, we're going to hold off.
Releasing this project back to LCDBG would reduce the grant allocation for the funding cycle in which it was approved. But it would make you eligible then for a project in the current funding cycle.
Okay. Got it. And just a point, we talk about that being our first priority. I will remind y'all, we are waiting on the study from CDM to see which particular phase in Donaldsonville is more feasible, whether we go to Donaldsonville, whether we build our own plant, whether we encompass Lemonville with our own plant by the jail, a few different options. So I think I talked to Armour at the council meeting, and he expects to have that completed within the next couple of weeks. So maybe we will have a direction, and hopefully this may allow us to get the LCDBG grant for Lemonville now is what I'm hearing. Yeah. It may make us eligible for this cycle, Could that be possible or
Well,
no?
the next funding cycle is in October, I think, October or November.
So both of them would come up
So,
in October?
but if you had a slot released, then they would review the projects that you have there now, and but if you don't have a slot up, they're not going to review anything.
Right. And we still have EPA funding also for Lemonville that's still allocated? Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Valentine, second by, was it Mr. Lambert? Any objection? So moved. Any old business? On what agenda item? Okay. Mr. Hillensback?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Berger, and members of the Utilities Committee. A couple of months back, there was an announcement made, and I think it came out of this committee, dealing with the plans for the comprehensive waste treatment plant and how we were going to build out in phases. And all along, we had been talking about we were going to build out in phases to the north. And I was surprised to hear that that was no longer the case. That the announcement, as I remember it, was that we're now going to, the plans are to build the waste treatment plant, on the donated property from BASF, close to the YMCA. And instead of building out in phases coming north, we're going to build to the south. Can someone kind of fill me in on what the thinking was there?
To my knowledge, I don't think this board has taken any action.
Yes,
That's been the recommendation by administration.
Uh,
We haven't actually taken action that I can remember.
All right, okay, because
We took no action on that.
All right, it was kind of announced like that was the plan, and I'm just here trying to get some clarification. Bill, you aware of my question? All right, the plan. That's all right. That's all right. I didn't hear everything you said either because I was writing stuff down. But the plan was on the waste treatment plant all along. Once the plant is built, we're going to build out in phases, and we're going to come north. That is the comprehensive, not parish-wide, but comprehensive
That's right.
sewer plan for the parish.
That's true.
All right, but it came up in a meeting that we're no longer going to do that. We're now going to build out first to the south too.
No, that's not right. And in fact, what I said just a minute ago, what we're looking at doing is doing both at the same time.
Okay.
In other words, it's going to the north of the trunk line, going to the original collection system in the northern part, the Goudin Basin, the Goudin,
Okay.
called the Goudin
Right.
collection system.
Through
That's
George and
going.
Cheryl's district. Right.
What we're looking at also in conjunction with that, to meet the new development that we know is coming, that's on the books, coming to the Highway 22, and also with the problem of Astroland and Hillaryville and everything else down there, would it be good planning to go down south with the trunk line and start tying these in at the same time we do in the north? We're not going to stop the north. It really
All
don't
right.
affect
Okay.
them
As
at all.
long as we're doing them at the same time, because we've got these older subdivisions in the north that's been here as long as time, and they've got the old waste treatment plants, and they got problems, and we, it just,
It's
as I
not-
understood it, we were going to move
It's
south.
not going to affect that portion of the plan. This is just an addition to it, again, to think ahead and not drop the ball, actually having to go in there and purchase package plants for some of these subdivisions where we can put a trunk line and tie them immediately into the system and start getting a revenue generation down there. Totally in addition to the other part.
Okay, so we're going to move concurrently. We're going to come north, and we're going to come south at the same time. All right, thank you. Glad I had that clarified now.
Mr. Valentine?
I just want to add to that some of the thinking was that administration was just informing us of what they thought had planned, and the reason why is coming from the north, as Mr. Hillensbeck was talking about, is going to be it's going to take a considerable amount of time. But also we're going to have to start, from what I understand, dealing with each one of the sewer plant owners and having to buy each one of those sewer plants to even put it into our system. So I think administration really had a fairly decent idea as far as branching off and doing that, but we didn't take any official action whatsoever, Mr. Hillensbeck. So it was just more of an informative situation that Mr. Rue had enlightened us on, and I don't remember us taking any kind of resolution going to the council with anything. So appreciate that.
And Mr. Chairman, to
Yes, sir, Mr.
reiterate the fact that I've been having meetings with the Corps of Engineers and also Earth Tech, actually putting together a fairly massive business plan to look and see how we gonna fit this into the parish system. How are we gonna pay for it? How are we gonna negotiate with the owners of the package plants? The cost of O&M. How are we gonna the rates? Again, this is getting pretty comprehensive, and I'm working with the Corps and Earth Tech in getting that together. Once we have it together, of course, we'll come to the committee and lay everything out on the table. So.
Any other old business? Yes.
I just
Councilwoman
wanted to,
Fountain?
I just want to tell everybody that I did get an email that they do have a final draft of the water franchise, and we're just waiting for them to bring it to the Utilities Committee. That's the next step.
Any other old business? Any new business? Okay, I do have just a comment on the new business, and I guess it could actually be old business also. At one time, we talked about, and I think through this committee, we recommended to the full council creating a utilities district, especially on the east side, and I think that's pretty necessary, and we really need to look at that. We witnessing a lot of growth and future growth plans for the southern part of the parish. And like Mr. Valentine just mentioned, when we go north, we're going to have to buy all these systems in the northern part of the parish from the operators. If we create a district now, we can get them donated from the developers and not have to buy them at a later date. And I think it's pretty important that we start looking at that and possibly beef up our utilities department now to save a lot of money in the future as far as having to buy systems. And especially taking them in while they're brand new and get the revenue when there's not a whole lot of just maintenance, not a whole lot of repairs on them.
And to comment on that, Mr. Chairman, it's a possibility we may not have to buy. It's other negotiations that we can go into with the operator to actually maintain, sub out to maintain. But I don't want to get into a whole lot of that right now. The other issue, though, is what's part of the business plan that you need to really think about right now is, and we can try to come to you fairly immediate, with ordinances that we need to put in place mandating that new subdivision developments actually turn the waste systems over to the parish. Of course, we'll outsource it probably to the same person that does a lot of this other stuff for the maintenance and operation. A portion of the fees go to him, but we actually own the new package plants coming online after a certain date. So we don't have
my thought process with the district.
That's right.
How
So
we got to go about doing it. We just need to seriously look at doing it now.
And that's part of this business plan that we're putting together to answer these questions and see what's the best way to go.
Do y'all have an estimated timeline? If not the whole completed business plan, but possibly this section of it?
I think we could probably have another meeting. I'm gonna probably call another meeting in the next couple of weeks. And that'll have enough time for them to give me some preliminary answers. Because we just started this process about 3 weeks ago maybe or something like this. So they just gaining some data.
Do you think you'll have enough information to discuss it again next meeting, or you want to hold off?
Hold off.
Okay. Mr. Valentine.
Yeah, Bill, I think the last where we left that utilities district is essentially on administration, as far as contacting legislators to essentially establish that, and maybe with the experience of Dr. Keller, with that maybe administration could get some more information on that, and that needs to be established legislatively, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, by the state. So we need to do that. I think it's an excellent idea. I mean, we were doing it with negotiations dealing with the water franchise, but there's a whole more at stake than just water. It's also sewage too. So.
And it's some issues with that too, because we're probably going to restructure it different or structure it different than the ACUD number one.
Sure.
You know, we're going to structure it under the parish government, under the control and administration of parish government and stuff like this. But they have to be part of a district and get the benefits of being a district.
But just during this off time, let's see if we can't get some movement on that and see if we can't get some legislators lined up to introduce that legislation. Thank you.
Dr. Keller, is that something you are familiar with? Yeah. Okay, great. Any other new business? How about number 8? Motion by Mr. Valentine. Second by Ms. Fontenot. Meeting's adjourned.
Transportation Committee will resume in 10 minutes.